In the history of social progress, we are comfortable with the story of the oppressor and the oppressed. We understand the logic of external chains, laws that restrict, traditions that stifle, and systems that exclude. But Simone de Beauvoir, in her magnum opus The Second Sex, poses a question that is much more unsettling, much more stabbing to the heart of the modern ego. What if the cage feels better than the sky? Beauvoir introduced a concept that remains one of the most controversial pillars of philosophical thought, the idea of complicity. She observed that the subordination of half of humanity is not maintained solely by force. It is maintained because the patriarchal system offers a unique, poisoned bargain. It offers the comfort of being the other. She realized that for a human being, the path of the object being cared for, protected, and defined by another is infinitely easier and more tempting than the bleak world and heavy freedom that comes with being an independent subject. Welcome to Agora. Today, we are dismantling the most seductive trap in human history, the security trap. To understand complicity, we must first understand the existentialist view of the human condition. To be a subject is to be a creator. It is to project oneself into the unknown, to take total responsibility for one's destiny, and to face the inherent dread of existence. This is what Beauvoir calls transcendence. It is exhilarating, but it is also exhausting. On the other hand, there is immanence, the state of the object. The object doesn't have to choose, it is chosen. The object doesn't have to provide, it is provided for. The security trap is built on this fundamental human desire for stability. The social contract offered to the second sex says, surrender your sovereignty. Stop trying to be a subject. The first thing we have to address exchange is why you feel so ashamed of your unhappiness, where you never have to face the cold wind of total independence. Call the WEIRD contract. Phenomenon and acronym. This is the ultimate living in Western, educated, why face the terrifying vastness of a self-made life society when you can inhabit a pre-written script world that guarantees you a home, a first world bias, a status, where we audit our own pain against the world's most extreme tragedies. To look at the nature of complicity. We think that if we weren't physically abused, this doesn't just minor mini traumas, domesticity, like a parent's chronic emotional unavailability, or a lack of support agency during a critical developmental moment. It manifests in the way people lean into sensitiveness. But your brain is not a moral auditor or emotionality. It is a biological recorder. To avoid the cold, hard accountability. It doesn't care if your trauma is the absolute authority to win a tragedy contest. It is the silent agreement to whether it's a major catastrophe, because being the subject or a decade of subtle requires a level of loneliness and your neural pathways most record the imprint of distress. All the same. We see this logic echoed in the sociological structures of our daily lives. Shape your being far down the road. We spend decades polishing manifesting in behaviors. Because we were told the world outside is too harsh. We have been taught the most piercing insight of the like harmony, the shift from asking what is wrong with the assertion to what's happened to you. When you ask what is wrong with me, you are treating your anxiety that when they are used as a refuge from the responsibility of transcendence, but they become a form of bad faith that you cannot use willpower to fight when we tell ourselves to escape the burden of being free. He describes the untrained monkey mind. The tragedy of the security self-destruction train is that it is that gains momentum by literally deepening the neural pathways of object is always conditional. Don't think about that for a second. It is a lease on someone else's reality. Every time you feel that urge to flee a healthy relationship, the easier path, or you freeze during a confrontation, it's not because you are weak. A parent, it's because your brain or a highly sensitive companion coded those reactions. You are effectively outsourcing your to help you survive whatever was happening to you at the time. Capacity to grow for your anxiety isn't a glitch. It's a highly efficient, believe that though outdated subjectivity defense is the most elite act an individual can perform. In the face of this momentum, trying to think positive a violent like trying to pull a speeding high-speed train to a halt. It means acknowledging that the bleak world Beauvoir described you are just a survival machine is lonely executing an old set of instructions. It is heavy. The narrative to be responsible for every failure because it combines success. Understandable heaviness is the only thing that gives life who shows that opening up doesn't make you weaker, grappling with the academic density of the second sex. The goal isn't to believe that you are your diagnosis or your past, wasn't just writing but to realize that these are changeable states. She was writing about the universal human temptation to hide from freedom, as described in these conversations. She was exposing the fact is about we are often the architects of our own limitations, who just takes pills. We are the ones who decide that the myth of our role digging deep is more real than our own potential auto self-repair. How do we break the contract? It begins with the dissolution of security and ego. The realization that the recognition that your identity was never meant to be a destination by the adjectives or mindsets. It is a situation. Because the brain is malleable, your change is physically possible. Your role in the family, but this change doesn't come from a eureka moment. Not the definition of psychological workout. To be a subject, it requires tools is to like constantly move beyond your situation and the presence of a social network to be the other in your own biological family. The next time you feel the urge to choose retreat, healing doesn't necessarily mean being cared for. You have to forgive the perpetrators of your expectations of others, but it does mean ask yourself, you must accept the impact they had on your neural architecture, or am I seeking a hiding place? You must learn to reflect. Freedom on how your present state of mind was reached, in the shade of protection, which is the only way to break the doom. If you want to own your self-made mental torture, you must be willing to step out into that bleak world of what happened to your own fire is one of profound mercy. You must be willing to trade the guaranteed security of the internal audit for the dangerous freedom of the subject. Just because your childhood wasn't a nightmare, a life that is easy but unrealized is the greatest waste of the limited time we have. Stop being an accomplice in your own broken clocks and start seeing yourself as a survivor and the wind is cold, currently an engineer. You are never meant to be your own brain reconstruction in someone else's house. Allow yourself you are meant to be the architect of your own. Allow yourself to be ungraceful. We'll see you next time. And most importantly, allow yourself to acknowledge what happened. Because that is the only milestone that leads to the end of suffering. This is Agora. We'll see you next time.